All right, today I'm going to talk about the group stage in MongoDB aggregations. The group stage is a way to group documents based on a given criteria, and the output of that is one document per unique value that's given as the group key, and that's the criteria. And so what that looks like syntactically is for the group stage, you have to provide an ID field, and it takes in an expression. This expression, at its most basic use case, is going to be a field on a document in a collection. You can also provide additional fields that takes in an accumulator, and I'll explain what this means. But you don't actually need to do any of that. You can just provide it an ID if you wanted to. So the accumulator specifies how to aggregate information for each of the group. So in this example, let's say I have a collection that has an entry per zip code, and each zip code has its city. And so I can group by the cities and then count how many entries per city there is. And so that way I can find out how many zip codes are in each city. And so that makes sense. When I first learned about grouping, getting the count, but there's also other types that you can pass it in, different accumulators, things like average, first, or max. And so let's say instead of each entry was a zip code, it's actually each entry is a population of the zip code. And then I can find the max, or I can find the average per city of that. On the MongoDB documentation, on the group aggregation site or page, you can see down here, if you scroll down a little bit, the different types of accumulators that you can send. So, there's count there, but first, and all these different things you can play around with. All right, so that's just kind of a basic overview, but just to show off how it all comes together, I have a MongoDB collection here. It's one of the sample collections in Atlas, so anyone can play around with it. But this is sample Airbnb data, listing, and reviews. And so if you look at this, there's a lot of information here, but things that stand out to me, maybe I know there's there's a type field here, so property type. And then there's things like minimum and maximum nights. So let's do some group aggregations based on that. So we'll go into the aggregations tab. And this is just like a visual way of doing it. You can always just use the CLI, but this kind of makes it nice to interact with. So I'll add a stage here, and I'll add my group stage. And then again, so the ID, what is the expression that I want to group the criteria by? And so here, I think I want to group by the property type. So I'll look into here, and I'll just make sure that I have the correct, gotta expand all of these here. Property type, make sure I got the right key. So I'll just copy this and paste it into the expression. When you do these expressions, you want the value of the property type, so you prefix it with the $sign. And then this field accumulator. So what do I want to know about the property type, each property type? So let's say I want to know the average stay max. So I'm going to look at the field here that says maximum nights. Let's see, maximum nights. And I want to know what the average per group that is for the maximum nights. So if we were just look at houses, what is the average maximum nights for the house group of all the entries in the house group? So let's do that. We'll put that into the expression. So I believe we have to prefix it again. because we want the value, and the accumulator this time is going to be max. Now, a good thing to look at, this might actually autofill for us, but a good thing to look at when you're putting in the accumulator is the syntax for the accumulator itself. So max here, it's probably pretty simple. It's just max and then an expression. So here I'm just going to pass in the field. So looking at this, now we can see that the groupings are by the property type, and then the average max stay is listed here. So for houses, it's 90, townhouses, it's 90. Looks like a lot of these are 90. Campsite is 30, heritage hotel is 14. And so let's also, I want to know the amount of listings per group. So we can do listing count here, and then pass in the count accumulator. And the count accumulator, let's have it autofill for us. Let's see if it'll do it. No, but the count accumulator doesn't take anything, so I can just do like that. And so now you can see that I have the listing count as well as the average stay max. So looks like farm stay, there's 9 listings of farm stay. And of the farm stays, the average stay max is 9. So there's a lot you can do with this. It's super powerful, especially when you combine it with other accumulators or other other stages of the aggregation. But this was just kind of a brief overview of the group stage.